everyone. It's Dr. Judith Briles, and we're back for another awesome episode of the Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And I'm always thrilled to know that we're in the top 10 for book marketing, and it's certainly in the 100 for publishing and author-related podcasts. So that's very cool. As I always start every episode, I like to lead with a quote. I always pull it from this little book, which I'm going to recommend to you. This is mine, and this is me solo today. We're talking just one topic today: how to create snappy, sassy success for authors and writers. So when I say that, there's all kinds of ways to do that. It's book marketing, it's relationships, it's who you know, where you go, what your commitment is. And earlier this, at the end of last month in January, we had an interview with Patricia Raybon, who has really created a excellent, very niched mystery series. And she really says that when each book she starts, she has to see the book, but she literally says out loud, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? So this is kind of like going to be a where do you want to go? And it's going to tie in with positioning, marketing, as I said. So throughout, I'm going to give you some tips, ahas, some shows to go to, and put it together. But my quote from here today is marketing and book publishing are so Hollywood and more like a house of cards. If you ever do what they promise, you have to be part of a team. So I think it's really important to understand that, what I've done, how I've sold 1 million books was not all by myself. I had people involved with the creation of the book, the involvement of the book, that shared my vision, that helped shout out the book, that brought me in for speaking, and then audiences wanted to take it home. So it's not a solo venture, although you feel really solo at times. I sure have. But publishing, authoring can be a lonely number. It doesn't have to be. So you need to bring in people and things and ideas and get rejuvenated. That's why I like to do I live in Colorado, on the second Saturday of the month, assuming I'm in town. But usually I'm in town on the second Saturday of the month, that I do like a Zoom open meeting, and that people can come in who are a member of the AuthorU.org community, and they can pick my brain. They can do whatever they want. But they all come in. It's like sharing, like what's going on, what's working for you, and the like. I also do on a Wednesday of the month, or on a Friday of the month, where I will do an Ask Judith, where it's just like an open webinar that you can come on and ask me anything. It helps to stay connected with that. And on that second Saturday where I do the Zoom, I also do, that's like early in the morning, 7:30 to 7 to 8:30 Mountain Time. So we get the East and the West coasts in America. Then I do it live right in my home, in my living room. There's coffee's ready, hot tea's ready, snacks are out, that people just come and kind of settle in for 2 hours, just like having their own little council. Don't try to do everything alone. So what I wanted to talk about today, really get into bookstores. Now, I've been fortunate to develop a really good relationship with Barnes and Noble, and that you can do this with an independent bookstore. But what I like about what I've put together with the Barnes and Noble community here in Colorado is I can be in one B&N store on a Saturday. I can be in another one all day on a Sunday. And I never sell less than 30 to 40 books every time I'm in a store, which is, what do you need to know about bookstores? The average author, so we want you not to be average. You must be above average. The average author sells 4 to 6 books, and that's their fault. That's because they didn't do shout outs. They didn't tell people to come see them. They don't rise to greet people. They haven't developed a pitch line to open the door that a conversation can start. with you and the potential buyer. All of that falls on you, the author, and you need to understand that. You would love to have just all the customers of the bookstore flock to you when they see you at a table. It's not going to happen. Oh, you'll get a few, stop-ins, but you can get far more and move those books. So that's what bookstores want. That's why they bring me back, because I will move books for them, and they bring the maps so they have them. Now, one of the things you always want to do in any bookstore area, that have a case of your books, or if you have multiple books, a match in your car, because if they sell out, you have a decision to make. Do you want to stay, or do you want to say, okay, I'm done? I usually tell people, and I do it a couple of ways. We make posters that I'm going to be in a bookstore on a certain day, and I'll go in and I'll do some sharing with you to show some of the things we do. I write a press release, and we push that out. Now, one of the things that I have done, and I'm going to encourage you to do it, is that just do a block out an hour, a couple of hours, and you're going to become a searcher. Or if you have a VA, you can turn that on to them. Sometimes I call this kind of no brain stuff, but I would go into a Google search or whatever browser you use, and I would look for uh, print um, uh, newspapers, weekly newspapers, and put your area. I would certainly start with your city, your region, and definitely your state. So I have one for all of Colorado. And then I have subsets in there, and I would have radio stations for Colorado. I would have newspapers for Colorado. I would have TV in Colorado. I found some of the most successful for any of us to get picked up for publicity would be with the weeklies. They love to feature local folks. They love to feature authors. Now, my main newspaper in the Metro Denver area would be the Denver Post. The biggest weekly is Westward, but there's a whole bunch of others that are out there. The Villager is huge in the southern section. And depending upon what part of the state you can find those just asking the Google. And then I have a grid. We have a grid, and we have the name. You can often find the contact person, how to send a news release. You get that email, and any of that. So I do press releases. When I'm going to do a bookstore, I have a press release go out. Now, I typically do Saturday, Sunday. Those are the days that I do them on. So I will send a press release out on a Monday. In addition, I will be doing what social media, and I write a whole bunch of little ditties, and I tag the store I'm going to be in. I tag the master BNN so they know what I'm doing, but also it could be BN Colorado Boulevard, which is Colorado Boulevard store. It could be BN Southlands, which is in Southlands Mall. It could be out in Boulder. It could be in Denver West Village, which is Lakewood. It's all over the state. There's lots of stores all over the state. And, when you start figuring that if you visit 10 stores, and you're selling 30 to 50 books, that you're doing more sales per your title than most of the big boys even do. And what you become welcome. I can call the store a manager and I say, hi, it's Judith. I'd love to do a signing in April. Do you have any Saturday or Sundays open? And they will instantly telling me and book it. So, and it doesn't cost you anything. That's the other thing. Sometimes the independent bookstores will charge you to be featured in their store. So that's where it is. The other thing you want to tell, all these stores have their own little newsletter. Ask them to please feature that you'll be in the store on the day you're going to be there. And then I supply them with stuff. So I supply them with those posters and all that. So when I'm going to now roll back the clock. I've been publishing for 40 years. When I did my first signing, now this is then And I'm talking about now. What I just talked about was the now. Back then, the publicist would book you, usually from your publisher, or if you hired one, they would do the booking, and you would show up. And that I remember that my first store I lived in Palo Alto, California, in Northern California at the time, and I had no idea what to expect. They gave me some postcards that I could mail out to friends, letting them know I'd be there. And so I send them out saying, hey, come on down on that. No one prepared me for what to do, what to expect. No one gave me any suggestions, like I'm trying to do with you here now. So all I knew is I was supposed to show up. And indeed I did. And we sold 200 books that night, because a lot of people had showed up because the bookstore aggressively promoted it. And then my little bit. That is then. That is not now. You're going to be the primary promoter, just as you do with the marketing of your book on that. So with that, that was in June of 1981 when I did that, and that happened, and it was all magical, and I loved it. Um, I was a kept author for many, many years before I decided to go out on my own. Now, let's talk about setting it up for you. Let's pick a venue. Now, a book signing in a bookstore, here's the plus about a bookstore. People who go in the bookstore like books, you know, that whether they're audio, they're digital, whether they're audio, they're whether they're print, but they like books. So one of the things, it's really wise to make sure that you have those formats. Now, one of the criteria, if you want to do a sneak in here, you get an audio book that for Amazon to pop up and say, "Oh, we can make an audiobook for you," you must have a table of contents. They will not do an audiobook unless there is a table of contents or a contents page. We call them contents page now. So if you don't have them, one now in your book, whoever designed your book, go back and add it in and make it as tight as possible, because you don't want 20 pages of contents. You want them to get into your story right away. But the odds are Amazon will come in and do it, and that could save you thousands of dollars in audiobook creation. You pick your voices. It won't be your voice. Now, when my nonfiction books, I do all the voicing. Fiction, I do not. And I just got an invite from Amazon saying, hey, we'd like to do an audiobook for you. And I said, okay. And actually, it's fine. It reads fine. Very, very little editing, and you go in and do editing. They mispronounce words, or you have oddball names. I mean, if you're a fantasy author, of course, you're not writing with any vowels. So how do you pronounce this stuff? So you're going to have to help going in. So going back to the type of books you have, when you go into any event, I don't care if it's in a restaurant, I don't care if it's in a private home, I don't care if it's in an art gallery, which is kind of sometimes fun. Sometimes kids' books go into toy stores, authors go into toy stores, or if it's a bookstore, you need to have some swag with you. I would definitely have a bookmark. If you have multiple books, get them all on there. Do that, but make sure you put available in print, ebook, and audiobook if that's the case on that. You don't have to put prices. You don't have to do that. You want to have them takeaways. When you do, I always slip bookmark in every book I have. If people say, well, I'm really interested, I only read audiobooks, I will say, can I give you my bookmark that will remind you what we talked about? And it'll say that you can get the audiobook on Amazon. So that seems to work quite effectively on that. But think swag, your presentation. So where are you going to be? What's your number one? The venue. Let's think venue. I use bookstores primarily because that's where book buyers like to go, on there. And it also gives you an awesome ability to interact with people. I've had fabulous conversations with people all ages, including an 8-year-old girl who read at the 13-year level, 13 grade level. I've had a couple of those kids. I had another kid come back to me and said, you know, I love this. I'm going to get your book. She was 11 years old. She's going to buy my historical fiction book. Her mom and I talked to her, the mom, about the book. She said that will work for her, for Lexi. Lexi has now made a little movie out of a book report out of it. Who knows about these things? And then, you know, they can put them up for reviews. The parent can on your Amazon page. But think about your venues. That's where I'm starting with here. Is it going to be traditional, as in a bookstore, or are you thinking alternative? Are you going to go that way? Whether it's that restaurant, that gallery, maybe an outdoor event that you might want to do. If it's summertime, a profit home. It could it be a conference? I've rolled out a book launch at a conference before. Where will it be? And then you want to think, you know, okay, so how is it going to be set up? What stuff? This is the swag. What stuff am I going to take with me to this to set up my table? So I have like these pull-up banners that go up like 6 feet, banners that show all my books on it, has my picture on it. People can see that on that. And because I still have a broken arm, I can't do it myself. But the store folks are really helpful in getting. There's always someone there who will be helpful to you if you're challenged right now, like I am, which hopefully will not be for long. But I do that kind of thing. So I that's one of my props. I always have a tablecloth. Now I carry black tablecloths with me, and then I use scarves. You know, we can use colored scarves of any sort. You just bring in a little color. If it's seasonal, if we're coming into fall, I'm going to have maybe a stack of phony pumpkins, or I might throw little leaves around. At holidays, Christmas, I will always have a little variable. Easter time, you can do things. I mean, I want you to start thinking visuals. Remember, people, most of us are very visual. What will be the attraction to bring them in to your table? Now, you will have a chair and you'll be sitting that at times. And I've done an entire book signing in a wheelchair. We were fine, and I had the wheelchair to the side of the table, so the display of my books, because I have multiple books, was out, and I had that. I have a brand new cookbook just coming out here in February of 2025, my first little cookbook that people have been after me to do for years. And so I'm already thinking, okay, so how can I go about a display that will bring people in? If I was really and I would offer something to eat. Yes, so you can taste some of that. I mean, I have someone I worked with who sold 10,000 copies of her cookbook because she had always a taste of the appetizer there. But then you have to have all kinds of precautions and plastic gloves and little things, and I'm not prepared to do anything like that. But other visuals we can do. And doing that. So think the swag, your which would be the bookmarks that are going out. I have I do something like this. I have a emery board. People love this emery board, right? And it has, and then my name on it, my website and that kind of thing. I have those sitting with a cup I carry with me. Or I will look on the displays if I'm in a bookstore, they always have stuff they sell. And I will go pull one of the cups in and just put it on my table and put a whole bunch. Anyone who buys a book, and I always can, could you use an emery board? One time I had one woman just look it over. She picked it up and she looked it over and she said, "Can I have 9 of them?" And she was taking them back for all her coworkers. So it's a high-end kind of thing. So think of little gadgets or gimmicks that you can use for that. I have my friend Suzanne Blankenship, who wrote a wonderful book on how not to lose your marbles when giving elder care. She has a bowl of marbles on her table and encourages people. She gives them a marble when they go away. Right, so think, and so what's our prop? What can you do? I want you to, you can do this at Office Depot. You can do this at Staples. I often go to FedEx. I just had a call from FedEx saying we're going to have specials, all discounted in, I think it was February, for the big foam boards. And when I'm talking a big foam board, you can get an easel. You can go to like Amazon, and get a fold up, easel and you can just literally, I have a whole carrier I carry with me to put all my stuff. I put extra books. I have display things. I have bookmarks. I have slips of paper, and I'll show you some of those before we're done, where I slip into each book asking them to go post a review in the book on Amazon, Goodreads, any of those areas that take reviews. It'd be very helpful. And then I would, so, I'm ready and I carry it all in a cart that actually you can put another case of books on top if you needed to. You could sit on if you wanted to, but I can roll it right in the store and everything's in the tack, and then I will go underneath the table. So it's there. And I would take snacks too for yourself. Some protein or whatever, because not all stores have cafes with it in them. So you want to have water and those things available to you. Right. So in my props, I will have a foam board of my book cover, and I could have maybe, usually I just make my props up of my books. I learned to stack. So one of the little tricks you can do is that take a small box with you, like one of the Amazon boxes that you get, or your doorbell deliveries, and a small box that I will take and I will then put it underneath the tablecloth. So now I have a layered effect. So I can do my stacking that comes up this way. And that works quite effectively in that. So I would have that and that, and like when I was in the wheelchair, I was at the side of it, but I had all this display so I could point out, and people were, very receptive to talk to me, to do things, and we sold a lot of books that day on that. And I just said I couldn't get up and move around, so I couldn't stand and greet people, but they were okay with that. My preference is to be standing when people come in, to greet them so you have more of an eye-to-eye contact with them. And I would always welcome, if it store, welcome to the restaurant, welcome to the store. Hey, welcome to Arts Gallery. But welcome. And I would say, so what books are you looking for today? If we're in a bookstore, what kind of books are you looking for? Well, and people will tell you the genre, and she says, "Oh, I like everything." And then I would say, "Well, do you like, do you know anyone? Are you interested in writing?" I have several books on publishing and writing and marketing. Do you like historical fiction? And there's huge people read historical fiction. And if they say, what if they respond to anything I'm talking about, and now I'll say, do you like to cook? All right, so then the next line would be, can I tell you about my book? It starts in the 11th century. I have a protagonist that is a strong female who discovers her power and her strength, and she can take down 4 men in 1 minute with her bow and arrow. That kind of thing. Right. So if they're interested, now we're talking and we're engaged. But that's what you have to do. You know, do you like mystery? Do you like, you're interested in nutrition? Whatever your book's about, you need to come up with a greeting line that, and you can ask them, are you interested in, and whatever it is your theme is in your book, whatever your genre is. And it could be they say, I only read fantasy. And I said, oh, that's an amazing. Well, there's some amazing displays of fantasy books here. Most of them are carried in that section of the store. So I will redirect people very easily. The other thing I've learned in a bookstore is you need to know where the bathrooms are, because people are coming in sometimes just looking for them. You want to get there fast. So I do my direction back there. And then, of course, there's always customer service. Right. So back to your props. So I do, sometimes I will do, like a 18 by 36, a big blow up of my cover. That will go on that easel that would be behind me. Or my pull up usually is going to be to the side. It could be behind me too, but it's those kind of easel things with the big cover can be behind you. Also, you can put them in front of the table. All right, you could have several of them if you have multiple um, um, titles. Then I would have, but I'd have them the same size. So doing those kind of things. And this is the time, just have them ahead of time and you just carry them with you. Okay, you just carry them with you. So that's your signing table. The other thing is you might want to consider even having a custom tablecloth made, maybe with your logo, maybe with your tagline that you have, maybe off of your website. That something like that just gives them a little bit more pop on those. Now, I mentioned seasons. One of the things that I do, especially during the holidays, is I carry a bag of ribbons pre-cut. I use sheer ribbons on that. And what I have there is the bag, and I have measured them out so I have them already done so I can quickly go from a corner and I can hold it down in the corner, bring it around it, and then up again, and then around on the lower corner, and then tie a bow. I can do those in 10 seconds. And after I sign a book, I would say, can I wrap it for you on that? And people love that, or especially if they bought it for another one. So think your seasons during there are so many little headgears that you can get for these different seasons. When I'm in a bookstore with a lot of the authors I work with, maybe 10 of us are signing books one day in a Barnes and Noble, and let's say it's Christmas time, I have all these different headbands. It could be a tree on the top, it could be, stockings, it could be little bells or something, but it just makes us a little bit different. And they all have fun wearing their reindeer ears, anything like that. Well, I think on the ribbon, if you do ribbon, again, I prefer sheer. I don't like wrapping books in paper. I just you spend money on that cover to make it beautiful. Find a accessory color that's within your colors. Find one to pull it out, and use that as your wrapping. And you'll find that it kind of looks cool, and it makes a difference with it. Now, I've also had I come in with cookies that we can have them individually wrapped, or we bring them in a box and we'll, thong them and pull them out. But you can, any bakery, the grocery store bakeries, by the way, can put your book cover on a cookie. Did you know that? Have you thought about that on there? So that's if you have children's books, you got to have stickers as part of your swag and your props because they love stickers. Kiddos do. And that in the food, I remember food is a magnet. I've done that. You can sometimes even, you could take, for example, those little teeny Hershey's, or any kind of little chocolate type thing. You could make a reduced size of your cover and wrap it. And then you could put that in a bowl dish and have that as an offering for people as a wraparound on that. Those go well. Now, the next thing I want you to think about is to think about how you're going to sign your books, how you're going to sign them. And when I sit down at any table, whether there's 10 of my books, there's 30 of my books, whatever the numbers is, it could be 10 of each title. I never know. And by the way, if you have a series, you always have more, maybe twice as much as the book one in the series, because people want to start with book one and they're going to test you out. Do they like you? Will they come back and get more? Some will buy both, some will buy all three, but that is what you want to do. All right, so sign. How are you going to sign it? Number one, I sign always with purple ink. Um, that's my favorite color, and I've always signed with purple ink pen. I buy like a dozen of them at a time. I carry them in that extras in the box. I actually have something I wear around my neck that I can have several pens in. I'll have business cards. I have my bookmarks coming out of it, things that I can do to give to people when I'm talking to them. So I'm not, looking around all over the place for it. But that choose a color that you like. Why? Because you're going to pre-sign your books. When I get into a bookstore, I have already each one of my books has a different saying I put in it. Very short. And often I don't put my full name, I just write my first name. And it could be for book one, Welcome to Nicole's Journey, or Discover Nicole's Journey, or and book two could be The Power of Nicole Evolved, or something like that. And then I have them all pre-signed, so when people buy the book and I ask, can I put your name in it? All I have to do is write their name. And always make sure you spell the name right. Do the ask. But that way you can actually talk with them a little bit before they get away from you. Okay, so that's one of the things that you do want to do. And decide what page you are going to sign on. Is it going to be the opening title page? Is there going to be an inner page? What page is it going to be along with your signing and doing the pre-signing? So I believe in making sure that you verify how to spell people's names so they have that and what your phrase is. Now, if you're just not thinking, you just want to have a standard phrase, it could be from my best or in gratitude or warm wishes, best wishes, regards, thanks for your support, blah, blah, blah. But come up with something that you've got in there. But these things have worked for me. If any of them work for you, that's great. Or you come up with a variation, but find something out. The question I often ask, should I sign the date? Probably not. Just skip that. You don't do that. And then when it comes to paying for books in a bookstore, you just tell them they'll buy the book at the registration table or when they check out. Because most people, when they go into the bookstore, they're not one book buyers. They're actually looking around for other things. So they'll gather up other things. I mean, I've seen people go through, I mean, they have carts, multiple carts of books in that. So don't worry about payments for that. It's smart to, if you're going to be signing from 9 to 4, for example, and most bookstores don't open before 9, so you're there. A few people start coming in right away. Or maybe you just say, I'll be signing from 10 to 4. That gives you a chance to get there and get set up and do all that and then be ready at 10 o'clock. If you're doing a private event somewhere, whether it's someone's home and the like, and I love private events at homes. One of the things I've always asked my authors is, who do you know who has a large home? Because you want space, because you want to talk about your book a little bit. You want space, so a large home, and often friends want to celebrate with you. That they may say, I'll handle all the food. They'll take care of that. I find for afternoons, I've done book signings, launches for brunches, and I've done that for my own book in my own home when I've launched it there, and I've done all the cooking. It's all there, and then sit down and we talk, and then we sell. I always have someone with me. At a bookstore, you've got the staff there with you. At a private event, you want to have someone because you're the star, and it's really important for you to be able to do that interaction. If you're so busy taking credit cards and doing things and handling checks if they're coming on, whatever, however people are paying for stuff, is that you want someone else to take that over for you. It's just smart to do it that way. So, I mean, we've had it, and I have someone who handles all the credit cards and everything, and people just come back and then I sign them. And we have stacks of books ready to go. So any event, whether it's a private event, whether it's a bookstore event, you need to shout it out. So I'm going to go back to the press release. I'm going to go back to doing it on social media. Hopefully you have an email list going that you can send an email out and saying, hey, meet me at, bring your friends. I'm going to be talking about my latest book or sharing whatever it is that you're going to share. And that it's just so important to make this work. So bookstores are your friend. Now, how do you get into them? Well, a lot of people think they have to go in and talk to everyone. If you go into the bookstore, I would ask to meet the manager, introduce yourself as a local author, and have a book with you. Be prepared to even leave one if you want, but better yet, do you have a book one sheet that talks about the variables on that, and make sure your book one sheet has your ISBN for the print edition or any of the editions. I do all the ISBNs for all my editions on my book one sheets, so you can leave them with them, and I would also ask, does he or she set up author events, or is there someone else in the store that handles author events? And that's what they call them, author events on that. And to say you would love to um, participate in them and invite your friends and other book readers to come to it, because now you've said the magic word. Oh, they're going to help bring people in to the store, and that is what you want to do. So now, because I know the managers of a lot of the stores, and I pick up the phone and I say, I'm open. Is there any chance that I could do a signing this month? And they will let you know when they're open. And I said, great, let's take that day, and it's booked. And it's booked. If I don't know the store, but if it's in like the and Noble family, that I can easily say, I've done signings at this store and this store and this store and this store, and they suggested I give you a call. For example, on the day that I taped this program, that a brand new store opened in Colorado, and it's on my to-do list is to call, because I have the name of the manager, to call and introduce myself and ask if we could do a signing. So it's exciting, and do that. But you don't have to. A lot of people feel they have to go in all the time, and you don't. They like having authors in, but they expect you to do your job. And your job is to sell books, not just bring them in and greet people and welcome them to the store so you become part of their family. So do you have a pitch down? Can you get what your book is? Is it dystopian? Is it fantasy? Is it an epic fantasy? Is it romantic fantasy? That's a new category now, by the way. Is it about health? Is it biblical? I mean, what is it? Is it spiritual? I would say spiritual. What is it that you're labeled with, you're attached to, and just say that this is what, you'd be honored to participate in an author event and a book signing at their store. Most of these are set up for like 2 hours. I go as long as I can, because I figured I'm there. I just soon sell to the table and sell the books out if I can. And that's always a goal, to go back, because they watch how books are going. They know what's being sold right away in that. But so come up with a pitch, find out who the players are in town, and make a call and say what you do. I also do another event with Barnes and Noble where I bring in, I mentioned earlier, a lot of authors, and 10 of them, and they have special events. They call them book fairs, that will they help financially. You get a few pennies off of every sale, with vouchers that you would give to customers, and it underwrites scholarships that I give away every other year. So there's just lots you can do. I want to encourage you to go to bookstores, and make it work for you. Now, while you're in a bookstore, there's some cool stuff you can do. How about turning your visit, your day, your event into a photo op? Make sure that you take pictures with people who buy your book. You're going to put them up on social media, and you can say, you can send it to the person. Also, this is a must do. I carry in a clipboard, and I have on it 3 columns on it. I have it on top. I have a picture image of like all my books, and I ask for name, email, and mobile number. Some people don't give their mobile number. That's fine. But the purpose is, and I say you will be added to my preferred email list on it. by them filling that out and signing it, they have opted in to do that. And I will come back with anywhere from 25 low to 50 names every time I'm in a bookstore to add to my email list that I carry exclusively for this on my book website. I have my business consulting website, thebookshepherd.com, but the book one is judithbrilesbooks.com. And so they get, they get updated news from me of what's going on, where I'm going. Like I will need to add on, we're finalizing the book cover on the cookbook when that came out. And we went up and said, okay, the book, this one is the new one, and I'll have it at the next bookstore event. So you want to gather, your emails are your gold. They're reaching customers, fans who now have bought your book, who are interested in your book, and you can develop it. And I'm telling you, when you have super fans, they end up doing your marketing. They're so excited. They will let people know, they will come, they will show up, they will do that. Now, so with that said, I would do on the when I work with authors and myself, I kind of like to get early. Let's go back to getting early. I like to scan the bookstores of what tables do they have on display. Now they could have new releases, they could have new arrivals, but they have whole sections like business, personal growth. If you have a book that fits into the business area, the personal growth, I would take my book and I would just kind of scoot it in underneath that sign that says business, personal growth. I have a couple. I have actually images I printed out, and I don't know if, oh, you can't see this. Okay. So you see where it says personal growth? There's Pat Williams' book on money. You see business? There's your book there. But look at this table down here where it's literally saying must read nonfiction, propped up several of her books there. And then, of course, there's she with taking a picture. You can do that kind of thing so easy because these bookstores, invest money in their signage. Now, there's others that had, the must read fiction, the must read nonfiction, escape. Oh, there was a sign in there, escape with a cookbook. Guess where I will be when I'm in a store with a new cookbook? Having that. Escape with a good book. You could put your books up and have those there. They will have so many sections in there. If you have won an award at all, you could take your book. There's a sign I saw. You could take your book and put it up there, award winners on that. So all my books have won awards. So that, except for the cookbook, I haven't entered that in anything. But you have that capability of putting those up. So your job when you go into a bookstore is to start scouting. Scout the tables, the new arrivals, the new releases. Add your book, pick it up because the staff scouts, they know what books are supposed to be there because they'll keep refilling them as they go down. But look around for other areas that you could have with your whole book out there. I mean, I found one which I hadn't seen before, historical fiction. Wow, I got several of my books from The Secret Journey, The Secret Hamlet. We're just finishing The Secret Rise that comes out in April. And we can put that in there so we have them all available. And that makes a huge difference in that. So that's what I'm looking for, all of this to make it work so it's so much more successful for you in that. So use the props that a bookstore has and let them do. And sometimes some of those people are very clever in these stores. They're artsy craftsy. Sometimes they have separate designs. You may be able to tap in and just slip your book in for 30 seconds and get some snapshots. Now, where are you going to go with it? You're going to go on social media. You can make posters. You can do those kind of variables on that. Now, what I promised before we leave, because I know we have, maybe up to 10 minutes here. that I wanted to go in and show you very quickly. And I'm going to kind of bring some things down before I open it up so I have it very quickly. But I have a major folder on book files that when I am out and I am doing events, for example. So I may have, oh, let's see. I'm going to pull those together. I'm opening too many books at one time. That's no problem. So what I want to show you is that in this, when we go into the bookstores, that we have, we'll do visuals, we'll have props, we'll have a variety of things that we have used in them, and like taking pictures with fans in that. So I'm going to do some sharing real quick on that, and then the fans like them too. As soon as I can find my share button, here we are. Oh, I need sharing needs to be turned on. So I have that. Okay, so if I'm going to go in here and I'll share, so I'll bring those on and show you some samples that we have that we do. All right, so here's someone who brought, two of my books. She was thrilled to have them, but we just had someone else took a picture and she had someone else. And so we did that. And we have those, all right? So that's one picture. Okay, so we have others. This is there's one of my big posters you can see on that. She has several of my books. Look at this. Now there's an example of the historical fiction table that we had. So I just laid out a couple of my books right underneath the horror. Now I can take this back and crop it and bring it in and repost it out, or I could use it, or maybe I'm writing a blog. But but these are, main players, people in there, so they see those. So any of those kind of things can pay off for you in that. So I would definitely do that in that. Now here's a sample of what I do on a press release coming up. So this is one of the book fairs that we have. And we'll have this coming in. I just announce it. BNN Book Fair, the date. This is when we're there. And there we have. And then we write it up and we shoot it out to the local media. And it's amazing what gets picked up on that. So you want to think those kind of things on that. If you have, when I've done some solo events, all right, now, so this is when I have been in a bookstore by myself, so I'll take one of the pictures I have. And here's what the bookstores love. They love it if you put, these are all the books that they had available that the customers can buy on there. So we had those. So these are just some variations, meet me, come and meet me here, that kind of thing on that. And this was just a different store. But it's always promoting, when we have a Barnes and Noble or those kind of events. So you want to have some various pictures, exclusive book signing event. They give the major store. People can find these very simple. But again, have those things that you have in here, and you can bring those about. All right, and then we have seasons that we'll go on to. This is again another sample, a poster that goes out at a store that we were at in Colorado Springs. So just different variables that you can do that will make just a huge difference in your success. And that's what I'm after. I want you to be successful in this as you go along. And now here's and sometimes I'll do a blog that might push out something like this. Meet me again, last call kind of thing that we do. And this would be the social media post so this would be a blog probably that I would shoot out. And then this side of it would be, this is what I want to show you. This is what I create for the social media push outs. So, and I will start this. So this was for the Barnes and Noble Colorado Boulevard. It could be an independent bookstore, but I usually start, if it's a Saturday event, I'll start Thursday, start doing social media. And I would write, you know, multiple things. Love books, meet and support. Are you in Colorado? Love books, stop here. For this Sunday, I'm going to be, you know, here. And then Friday, a little variation. Saturday, also. So those, and I love, calling all book lovers. I would say, are you in California? Are you in Missouri? Wherever you live, pull the state. Or you could be the area, but I always want to get in. I always think books are the best gifts. A lot of people are coming in looking for books for gifts. Sometimes it's very specific, sometimes it is not, but it'll work in both ways in that. So what you're looking at is, okay, so what can I do to bring this up? How can I bring this together? Where can I go with it? um, how can I start a domino factor? It used to be, because I was so tuned in to how few books sold at bookstores, there had to be a better way, because it's where the book buyers are. Now, another place that you might want to consider, especially as we're in the winter months at this first airing of this show, but summer's coming. And I would do a Google search for craft shows in your area. Now, I have one client that will does multiple states, but craft shows in your area. Find out what the cost is to do that. Now, if you're going to do something like a craft show, I'm going to tell you that like that square, when I'm going here, my square is like 15 inches, 15 by 15, and maybe 15 deep, right? That's where for a bookstore, that's what I'm going to be hauling in. For a craft show that sometimes are in a field, or sometimes you have a huge parking lot you're going through to get it, I would look for one of those collapsible wagons that you could have. And a collapsible wagon, you could put in a case of books, you can put all your other stuff, but it has the bigger wheels. It rolls over a lot of stuff to roll it to your van again. Again, you can hide it underneath your book table. You want to find out what the cost factor is for the event. And it could be that if maybe you just have one book, and so they're giving you the cost factor includes a 6-foot table. Maybe you might want to share it with someone and share the cost in doing that. So this is where you want compatibility. And I think what's really important is that when you have more than one author, it's got to be that collaborative, cross-supporting recommendation. And it could be like when I have kids, and when I do my big author events, there's always at least 3 to 5 kiddo authors. And they could be the preschoolers, they could be the middle schoolers, they could be the juvenile, there could be different ages in there. And a lot of times another author won't think that the parent might read an adult book. Mine are adult books, and the adult trade. But I always, to train them, I work on getting them to cross promote and to think about reaching out and supporting their colleagues in that. So I have a good friend who sometimes will come up from Texas, and we cross promote so well together. She's got a cozy mystery. I don't write cozy mysteries. That's not my thing. But I have mystery in my book, but I'm on this, the historical side. Now, she doesn't do a cookbook. I will have a cookbook. She doesn't write about writing and publishing. Some of my titles you can see over my shoulder here, right? Um, she doesn't do that kind of thing. But she will say, have you thought about writing a book? You need to talk to Judith about that, about your book, and going forward. So we cross over with each other, and she writes tech thrillers. I don't write tech thrillers, but people who really like technology it's their cup of tea. So I'm glad to help promote her books. And so what I'm saying is, when you do these co-ops, it means that you co-op with each other. Whether there's just two of you or there's 10 of you, there should be over going, reminding people that if you want a really good read, if you're just ready to cozy up, on a snowy day, because I live in Colorado, we got snowy days. You know, make sure you look at Judith's book, The Secret Journey. So we do that kind of thing with each other, and I want to encourage you to do that with your colleagues. Who's a fit, and who's going to be fun? Who are you going to have fun with? And then when you have a colleague, guess who gets to take pictures for you? So make sure you got your phone, so you get these pictures and you have, and then you repost them and you push them out there and you can bring them into place, because it'll make all the difference in your social media. Where do you do it? You certainly can do it, on the Instagram, on the TikTok. You can do it in Facebook, wherever it's a fit. If you got a business book, make sure you're doing it in LinkedIn. And while you're there, hey, why don't you do a really short video and talk to people and goose it up on a YouTube as well on that? And you could have that around, because you just never know. All right. With that said, I'm going to do a wrap up. Don't ignore bookstores. That's my bottom line. There's ways to work with them. The managers will welcome you in. You just need to find what their rules are and how they work, and have the right props to support you, the swag that goes with it, so you're all ready to go. And don't forget to get their names and emails so you can add it to your list. I'm Judith Briles. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Happy writing and good author success to you.